Well, hello and welcome to Horcott Lakes in Gloucestershire, Oxfordshire. Not really sure exactly where we are, but it's a lovely late September day. Not necessarily the best fishing conditions, a little bit high pressure, blue skies, but it's looking nice on the lake at the moment. It's roughly about 20 acres, this lake. I've never been here before, never seen it, don't know anything at all about it other than it's a 20-acre day ticket fishery. There's not too many people on the lake at the moment, which is a good sign. And the other good information is that there's been quite a few nice fish caught recently. So what we're going to do at some stage is have a little chat to Lee, who owns the lake. But for now, let's have a little walk round, see what's what, see if we can find somewhere to fish, and more importantly, find some fish as well. So let's have a look round.
My name's Lee Pollard and I'm the fishery manager at Horcott Lakes. I've had this lake for around 12 years. It's a 22-acre gravel pit with weed beds, silt gullies and gravel bars. The stock of the lake is around 800 to 1,000 carp. We have lots of 20s, a big head of upper 20s and over 30-pound fish. We have a variety of carp, big 𝘃𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗲 to commons. No two fish are the same. Although it's a gravel pit and does hold lots of weed, every swim has clear spots. These spots can be found at short range, medium range and long range. You can find silt gullies, bars, all at different distances. This caters for a range of angling styles and abilities. We've just come off the back of a busy weekend with lots of bait going in, lots of angling pressure. So it's making the fish a little bit more trickier to catch at the moment. That being said, there are still fish coming out around the lake.
Now, whenever you come to a new lake, there's no better information than local information, and I've had a chat already to Lee about the best swims on this lake, and apparently, and this is not just because people fish these swims, apparently the swims outside of the car park are quite good. You've got about 4 or 5 swims along here, and yes, it's nice and comfortable that you can just drive your car right next to these swims, but there's some nice plateaus out in front of here, and he tells me there's a good stock of fish as well, about 1,000 carp in front of us. So on these plateaus at this time of the year, it could definitely be a good bet. And the guy who's 2 swims to me right down there, he's actually caught a couple of nice fish last night, including one 30-pound mirror as well. So it definitely looks an area that that could be in contention. But I think where I'm going to go now is have a look at these double swims around there, which fish roughly the same area out in that middle, because apparently it's a bit of a long range water. If you can get to the 26, 27 wraps area, then you've got a good chance of getting on fish at this time of the year. So let's go and have a little look around there. It doesn't look like there's anybody fishing over there, so we could have a good choice of swims. Right, this is the first double swim then, 36 and 37. And as you can see, a massive scope of water here. Perfect place to intercept the middle area of the lake. And we are lucky that there's not too many people on the lake at the moment. There's a lad in the double swim over there. The point swims opposite me are taken as well. But I've been told by Les the bailiff that 26, 27 wraps out in the middle, there's a nice 3-foot plateau out there. And he said, as soon as you cast out to that area, you're going to hit it. Now, central parts of the lake, on any lakes, are always going to command a lot of water, which is what we've got now. There's nobody either side of me, so I can stray into those areas if I need to. But yeah, definitely want to keep an eye on this because, oh, there's a fish just show as well over there. So it's got a lot of scope, and as I say, controlling a bit of water is always going to be a favourable area for me. So yeah, 3 rods in this area definitely looks good. But we'll carry on around, have a look at some of the other swims before we make the decision, but this is definitely first on my choice so far. Okay, this is peg 28 and it's a nice little bay. We've got loads of weed in this bay as well, but I actually think on lakes like this, you know, it's a big piece of water this is, and from what we've been getting told from the bailiff, you've got to get those rods out in the middle. That's where the fish are, 26, 27 wraps out on that plateau. At the moment, I don't think there's enough lines out on the lake to move them into these bays. I tend to think that when these kind of lakes get pressured, that's when they go to the areas where they're not used to seeing lines. And generally speaking, most people that go to day ticket lakes want to blast a rod out right to the middle of the lake. So this kind of area, if there's a bit more pressure on the lake, I think we've got about 6 or 7 lads on here at the moment. This kind of area is definitely, I think, an area that I'd definitely be fishing if there's a few more here. But at the moment, I'm going to probably focus more towards that middle area. So let's keep on having a look round, see if there's any other areas that take me fancy about getting a rod out into that middle. Tell you what, you won't believe how difficult it is pushing a barra with a dog attached to it. She might only be little, but she's pretty strong. I was all over the place coming through those bushes. That'd have made good camera, see me in one of those. But yeah, here we are, we're in 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲. This is the swim I'm going to go for, the first double swim. And I mentioned earlier about the amount of water they've got in front of here. At the moment, with there being no, there's a fish just rolled in the swim as well, with there being no lines either side of me, it gives me the good opportunity to spread the rods about and hopefully pick up a fish or two. So let's get the gear set up, get the marker rod out, have a look at what's out in front of here and hopefully catch some fish. So I've just had Les in the swim, the bailiff, and he's been pointing out the spots to me, and apparently there's a nice strip of gravel that runs from left to right or right to left, whichever direction you want to look at it, and that's the spot where I want to be fishing. There is definitely a nice plateau out there because I've plumbed it off. I've got the marker float out there, definitely 3.5, 4 foot, that sort of depth, and on top of this little gravel bar it comes up to about 3 foot, and it's nice and gravelly as well. 26 wraps, 27 wraps thereabouts. So that's the area that I need to be fishing at, and that's kind of the distance that we've been seeing fish rolling at as well. So it's a very obvious spot, and you can see just the marker in the distance over there. And all I'm going to be doing is, because he said that at the moment it's not a great deal coming out to lots of bait, and that's normal for this time of the year when you're transitioning from summer into the autumn period. I know a lot of people talk about this autumn feed when the fish have a massive feed in the autumn, and that's kind of an historical way of looking at carp fishing, because it evolved from the sort of the 70s when there weren't as many carp anglers out there doing it as there are today. And nowadays I think it's definitely shifted, these big feeds, to about early September, late August time. Fish have spawned, they have a massive feed, and at this time of the year, especially on a day ticket water like this, which has seen a lot of pressure over the last few months, the fish get really picky. They don't have a great big feed. They're just sort of coming across bait, having a couple of mouthfuls and then moving on. So what I'm going to be doing based on that is just fishing for one bite at a time. I'm not putting much bait out, and in actual fact all I'm going to go in with, and this is a really strange tactic to probably a lot of you guys watching this, is the old 2-bait stringer. And the amount of fish I've caught on 2-bait stringers is ridiculous. I actually caught a lot of fish during my career on single hook baits, but I've caught more just by the addition of a 2-bait stringer. And today I'm just using 12mm boilies. This is the rig I'm using, nothing technical about it. I will quickly run you through it because my rigs, wherever I go, they tend to be the same. If you've seen a lot of my vlogs, you'll have seen that it's very, very simple. And I'm just using one of these little bug wafters from DNA Baits there. I've got a liner on there, size 6 hook. That's one of the Armour Rock snag hooks from Avid. We've got about 8 inches of hook link there. That's the captive coated hook link. I've got a 3.5 ounce lead, 26 wraps. Yep, you need to get out to that distance, especially if the wind's blowing towards me. And then we've just got about 12 inches of tubing on there. And this tubing is basically one of the rules on the lake. I wouldn't normally use it myself, but on a few day ticket lakes that I've been fishing this year, on these little videos, one of the rules is that you use a little bit of tubing, just protects the line, stops it getting cut off on the gravel bars, and also there is this theory that it stops some of the scales getting lifted off the fish as well. So it's a really simple rig, and all I'm going to do is just clip on the 2-bait stringer. And by the way, that snoring in the bivvy is not Steve Briggs, it's the dog. So let's just clip this into place. Just going to double it over just to make sure it won't come off on the cast. And that's basically it. Very, very simple setup. It's already clipped up, a bit of blue Peter, got it all ready to go. So all I need to do now is cast in the direction of the marker, get a decent drop, and that's it. Job's a good one. There you go, cock on. And that's gone down lovely. Hit the clip perfectly, nice drop. And the good thing is, the stringer stayed on, because very often when you're casting that sort of distance, stringers, they're not that strong, and that's the reason for doubling it up. At least it stayed on. I'm just going to sink the line if I can. It is very shallow out there. And that's going to be my middle rod. I know it's set up a bit differently at the moment, but as soon as I've reeled that marker float in, that'll be my middle rod. Right, this is when the session begins. Then I've got the rods out and I'm happy with all the spots as well. And the first 24 hours on a venue like this that I've never fished before, I'm always feeling my way in. I don't know much about the spots too much other than what Les has told us. And I've got to work my way in and see where I go from here. And I put all 3 rods on, very simple tactics, all the same as well. I've gone in really light. I've just got the waft hook baits on and 2 bait stringers. And the chances are on a lake like this, which is a day ticket lake, it's going to be generally fished with PVA bags, little stockings and chod rigs and whatever. So 2 bait stringers, in my mind, it's a little bit of a dying art. You don't tend to see that kind of tactic on many waters these days. You certainly don't get many people talking about it, but it's a very, very productive method. I'm not saying it's going to do me bites on here, but the reason I'm using it is because I know it works and the chances are it's not been used much. I have seen the Spombs going out all over the lake today so far. So there's a lot of people using a bit of bait. I'm just going in a little bit different. And only a couple of weeks ago, I was on Hilton Valley Fishery down in Essex, another day ticket lake. First 24 hours, didn't get a bite. Got done on a couple of rods as well. Very obviously the fish were wary of the tactics I was using. So I thought, right, I'll resort to the 2 bait stringers. And in the end, it did me a couple of bites on a pretty tricky water. So that's what we're doing today, fishing with those tactics and see where it goes. You know, tomorrow we can see what happens. Bite time generally is in the morning up to about 11, 12 o'clock. So if nothing's happened by about then I'll get the rods in, maybe try something a little bit different, maybe put a bag out there, maybe try the tactics that a lot of the locals are using. But as I say, it's a feeling in way to start with. And at this time of the year as well, I don't want to be putting too much bait out because, as I've mentioned already, these fish have probably been hammered over the last few weeks, and certainly during the summer months from a lot of day ticket lads. So they're a little bit wary about what they pick up. So that's where we're going to start. Temperatures are going down a little bit now. It's a typical sort of late summer, early autumn evening, probably on about single figures already. Don't know what the night's going to be like, but the jacket's on at the moment. And in a few moments time, I'm going to get the tea on and get myself a brew on as well. And hopefully sit back and watch the lake and maybe see 1 or 2 fish though. Like this swim because I've got a really good view out over the water and I can see all the activity, which is another good thing about this area. And the light's just going down now, just got some beautiful sunset shots and you're starting to see a bit more activity in front of me. I know we've seen a couple of fish during the day today, but I'm actually confident as we move into the night. And one of the things about this time of the year is you do tend to see, not always, not on every lake, but you definitely see a distinct switch from daytime activity to more nighttime bites. It doesn't happen on every lake, but certainly a lot of the lakes that I fish in the summer months when I get most of my action during the day, now's around the time when you start to get a few night bites here and there. So from speaking to Les the bailiff and the other guys on the lake, it seems that the lake, it does tend to fish better during the early morning period, although you've got a chance during all hours of the daylight. Even today we've seen a lad in the corner over there who's caught an absolutely beautiful mirror, about 24 pounds, and that just came out the blue, middle of the afternoon. Wasn't expecting a bite and he's got one. So, you know, you've got a chance at any time, but I think now's the time when we might start seeing a few more night bites. So you've got to get yourself prepared for it, because I've been fishing a syndicate lake all summer where 99.9% of the bites are all in the day. So I'm always going to get a nice good night's sleep and get up in the morning, have a bit of breakfast, and then you start thinking, right, something's going to happen. But here I've got everything ready for myself for the night, and I don't normally do this on my syndicate lakes, but I've got my lamps down here, I've got my head torch to hand, I've got another lamp as well, and you know, just ready for something to happen. And also at this time of the year, you've got to be ready for the temperature changes, because it's due to drop down to single figures tonight. I've got my jacket on, I mentioned it earlier, it is starting to get a little bit chilly now. And I know it sounds a really obvious thing as well, is I've got a completely different bivvy up to what I'd normally be using. I've got a twin skin brolly up. So, you you know, you've got an inner skin here for the inner capsule, which just keeps a little bit of condensation off you. And these are the things you need to do at this time of the year, is just be a little bit prepared with what you're doing. Sounds simple, but it makes life on the bank really comfortable and obviously a little bit more enjoyable as well. Well, it's just before first light at the moment, and we've actually just heard a fish show to the left there, and left down rod has just tightened up, and we've got a lovely 𝘃𝗶𝗱𝗲, and it is literally just before first light now, so we're just going to unhook him, keep him for a short while so we can do some nice photos and get the rod back out there and hopefully get another one. You might be wondering what I'm doing, but me and Joe have been having a little bit of a joke about what I keep saying back in the days, because I'm getting older. And I haven't brought any sticks with me, they're in the car, and I'm doing it the old school way. I'm basically just marking the line up at the distance I need to cast to, and then casting out to the mark, clipping it up, reeling it in, and then every time I'm hitting the spot. So old school ways still work. Another old school thing that I don't do is I don't have rigs prepared. I've got to tie them all up again first thing in the morning, half asleep. Hands are really like cold at the moment because it's I wouldn't say it's a frosty morning, but it's definitely just above 0. And yeah, I'm slowly getting there. One of you young lads had this rod back out there and have another fish on the bank by now, but for me it's bit by bit. We'll have it out soon though. What a fantastic start anyway. Always want to catch your first carp from a new lake, and that is a proper nice one, so I am really happy. Lovely mirror, just over 20 pounds, so, and it's not even past bite time yet either. We've got a few hours left of the first morning, so you never know, something else might happen. Brilliant. Right, we're 24 hours in and Joe's about to leave in a short while, but I'm going to stay on for another 24 hours because it does look good for another bite or two. There's plenty of fish showing this morning, seen loads of activity out there, and obviously we caught that fish this morning as well, which has been great. I'm not sure if there's been anything else caught from around the lake, but it is that time of the year when the conditions are a little bit all over the place. The fish don't really know what they're doing. It's transitioning from summer into autumn. Weather's been pretty cool as well, so to catch one in these conditions, if I'm honest, I'm really happy because I've never been to this lake before, never seen it. So it's always, my intentions is just to get that one bite. So to get that nice scaly one this morning is a proper result from my end. But if I do catch anything else whilst Joe's away, we'll stick the footage of that over the top of what I'm talking about now. But I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about fishing at this time of the year. I've gone in really lightly with just a 2 bait stringer approach because the lake was quite busy at the weekend. There was a lot of bait that went in, and there's some sort of match on as well. So when you arrive to a lake and you've seen a lot of bait going in, it doesn't matter how many fish are in the water, or whether it's a day ticket water that's well stocked, I always think you're better off going in with a light approach, especially at this time of the year. But I hope you've enjoyed listening to me talk about fishing here. I hope you've enjoyed seeing a little bit about this lake as well, because it is a really nice day ticket water. It's somewhere I've never been to before. So to see it in you know, firsthand, it's a lovely venue. I'd definitely come back here as well, and it comes definitely well recommended. So a massive thanks to Lee for letting us come down here, and I hope that you guys have enjoyed watching, and I hope that I'll see you again real soon.